Welcome to Aroused, the podcast that teaches you how to reclaim your sexuality and how to significantly increase the passion and pleasure in your life. If you're determined to have a breakthrough in your love life, then this show is for you. I'm relationship, dating, and sex expert Samantha Pop, and I'm stoked to have you join me on this journey. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating review if you love this episode. Hello, my love. Thank you so much for joining the Aroused podcast for another episode. And I'm going really into the tea today. What we're going to talk about today is what actually happens when you try to fix everyone else. And this is a topic that I'm so passionate about because if you've ever been in a relationship with a quote unquote project partner, project man, project woman that you've dated, then this episode is for you. Before I get into all the tea of today's episode, make sure to grab my latest freebie, 5 Steps to Start Living Authentically. And what this freebie does for you is it shows you how to put yourself first and what living authentically looks for you, because it's going to look different to everyone. And this is completely free, 100% free. So go to the show notes, get the link, and get this guide. As a woman, you're taught to do everything for everyone else, especially for your partner, man, husband, whatever you want to call them. And this is what you're told is normal and right. But ultimately, this leads to women taking on project men, or, depending on what your sexuality is, I don't care, because love who you love, your project man partner, and you're doing everything for them. And in the midst of it, you destroy yourselves in the process of trying to rebuild your partner. And I did that. So I'm going to tell you guys a little story that I broke my back trying to fix all these broken men that I dated. And in the process, I completely lost myself. Everything I did was for them. I did nothing for myself. And when I wanted to do something for me, they would tell me that, I don't have the drive. I'm shit. I don't have it in me. I need to help them with their own stuff and don't have time to do anything that I want. I needed to support them. And believe me, I have so many examples. It would probably shock you on, all the toxic men that I have dated in my life. And for one example, this goes to the whole thing of settling. And, I don't encourage anyone to settle. I've seen so many people in my life settle for someone that, isn't the best option for them, or, I see how they truly are and their personality. But, the people that I know, they think that they don't deserve anything better. So then they settle for these project people that they get into relationships with and get married and have kids with. And then, they're miserable years later or even months later. So with one man that I did date, I told him straight up that I wanted to have 4 or 5 kids, to have between 2 or 3 of my own, to bear my own children, and then to adopt 1 or 2. That was something that I have been passionate about since a very, very young age. And people that know me have been like, yeah, you were talking about, wanting to adopt when you were 10, 12 years old. And that's something that I've known for a very long time. And I still to this day want to adopt a child when, I get married and have some kids of my own. And with this one partner that I was with at the time, he didn't want any kids. He didn't want to get married. He was okay with having a common law marriage, which, that's something that I didn't want. I wanted to get married, and that was my thing. So instead of accepting me for what I wanted, he actually manipulated me into not wanting any children. He actually made it his mission to make it so I said I didn't want any kids. Going from a woman that, when I started dating him, I said I wanted 4 to 5 kids. And then there was a point in our relationship when he convinced me and manipulated me to believe that I didn't want any children. I was going to be fine, not wanting to be a mom and not wanting to have any kids. And that was going to be okay. I thought this was okay for a little bit until, I was getting that nudge from my inner goddess. And she's like, honey, this is not what you want. You want to be a mom. You want to have kids. And I listened to her, and then I told him, I'm like, you know what? I don't know what I was thinking. I do want kids. And this became a huge problem for us because he didn't want kids. He didn't want to get married. And it was a big issue that, was part of the reason why I dissolved the relationship with him, amongst other reasons. But, I didn't want to settle with someone that didn't want to have kids. I didn't want to put him in that situation of, getting pregnant. I've heard of some women, baby trapping men. And I'm not going to say that's right or wrong. Women can do whatever they they want. They have their own choices to make, but I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to force him to have a child with me because I wanted one. I wanted him to want to be a dad and want to have kids. So that was something I wasn't willing to settle for. So at the end of the relationship, it was a big issue and it was something that I didn't want to settle on. I was like, no, I want to have kids. You don't want to have kids. You don't want to get married. And we have all these things that we don't agree with. We don't have in common that I'm like, I can't be with you anymore. Also in this relationship and other ones that I was in, I did do a lot for my partner. I wanted to help them do things and take care of them. And I have that very large motherly instinct and caring instinct inside of me that, I want to take care of others. That's part of who I am. And, he took full advantage of that, not wanting to, give anything in return. And this has nothing to do with money. And, I know some women are like, oh, well, I pay so much stuff for him and like he should pay me back. And, each situation's different. I've been in situations like that as well. But my biggest issue was, I would rub his back because he worked a very physically aggressive job. He was in a labor job and working with his body all day. And I would, massage his back for him and I would massage his hands because he worked with his hands all the time. And I remember, asking him, hey, like, do you like, can you rub my feet? Like my feet are so sore from being on my feet all day or working or whatever it is. And I would get such a fucking attitude about it. And he'd be like, oh, I don't really want to, or really, do I have to? And, that made me feel really bad because I was putting all this effort out in him. Like, I would offer to rub his back. I'm like, does your back hurt? Like, do you want a back massage? Like, you look like you're in pain. And he would never offer that. Even when I would ask, he would, be such a bitch about it and be like, oh, I don't really want to do that. Or he's like, do I have to? Or, doing it for 5 minutes, being like, I'm done. And it's like, okay, I give you, 20 to 30 minute back rubs and you can't even rub my feet for 10 minutes. This is the whole culture that is so toxic. Like that women need to do everything for their partner, for their man, whoever you're in a relationship with. And in the process you lose yourself is so wrong. It's so fucking toxic. I'm not in a relationship like that anymore. I'm very grateful that I've called in the love of my life and I manifested him. It breaks my heart to still see so many women getting into relationships and marriages where, they put their partner first or they put their kids 100% first and they're, dragging their feet at the end of the day because, they do everything for everyone else. There was also a time in a few of my relationships when, I'd ask my partner that I was with at the time, hey, like, I want to do this. I want to try this. I want to start my own business. I got pretty much the same type of reactions from all of them that it was like, oh, why do you want to do that? Like, you don't have the drive for that. You're just going to quit this like everything else. And that, they didn't support me at all. Even one of them was like, no, you can't do that because you need to help me with my stuff. You need to help me run my business or do this or do that. And ultimately, it really came down to the way that I said it was almost like I was asking for their permission. Like, oh, like, what do you think about this? Like, should I do this? I wasn't in the energy of like, I want to do this. I'm telling you about it. And, no matter what you say, like, I am going to do this, but I just wanted to, communicate with you about it and make sure that you know what's going on. I didn't have that energy. It was like I was asking for permission. And because, they got that sense that I was asking for their permission, they were like, no, I'm not going to give you I'm not going to give you permission to do this because, you don't need to do that for yourself. You need to help me with my stuff. And, I don't think you're up to do this by yourself or to do anything like that. It wasn't until I became self-partnered, which is, also known as being single, but I really became self-partnered. And the reason why I use this word so often is because it is so true to what it means. I was my own partner. I supported myself and I was like, hey, I want to do this. And I was having these conversations with myself, whether they were out loud or in my head. And, I'm talking to myself and it's like, Sam, like, I really want to do this. Like, it's something I'm so passionate about. And, the other side of me, like that self-partner side was like, do it. Like, this is something that you've wanted for so long. Like I'm in your head. I know that this is something that you've been wanting to try, at least look into, do this for yourself. And having that support from yourself means more than anything in the world because, in my current relationship with my partner, Logan, I don't ask him for permission on things. I tell him, hey, like, I'm going to invest in this for my business, or, I'm going to do this for my business. I want to do this. And I'm like, I have the attitude that's like, I'm doing this no matter what you say, but I also ask him for his opinion. Yeah. Like, what do you think about this? And every time he's like, yeah, I support you completely. Or he's like, that's awesome. Like, I love that. But I come in with the energy energy that it's like, this is something I'm so passionate about and something that I know that I need to do. I'm not asking for permission. I have permission from myself is what truly matters. I'm just asking for your opinion on what you think, but it's not going to change my mind. So that's the energy that I always go into with when it's regarding something that, I'm investing in myself, something I want to do for myself when I go and talk to my partner about it. So during my self-partnered season, I had to learn how to become self-partnered and to finally put myself first. Like, this was something that I've never really experienced. I was so codependent on my past partners and, wanting their permission all the time and always listening to things that, they said to me. And it was like, oh, like you should do this or no, you shouldn't. And ultimately getting manipulated by a lot of men in my life that I had been in a relationship with. And so I thought I was, putting myself first and being this like awesome self-partnered woman, this empowered woman when I was casually dating and sleeping around, but I wasn't truly putting myself first. Yes, I was getting satisfied in all the places that I needed and experimenting because at that point, I didn't have a lot of experience. I had only been with a couple people when I was in this phase. And, I thought I was putting myself first. I'm like, yeah, I'm exploring my sexuality and I'm trying all these things with different people and, getting more experience. But ultimately, I was running on an empty tank. Like when you're driving on the highway or when you're driving around in the city, wherever you are, and your gas light comes on and it's like, your tank's empty. Like there's a little bit of reserve left, but, you need to get to a gas station right away. And, when I was running on an empty tank, running on those fumes, it's like I was on the highway. My gas tank light was on, but the next gas station is at least 100 kilometers away or more. And, if only I had put my needs first, aka, gone to that gas station that was, an hour behind and, just filled my tank. 'Cause it's like, yeah, I'm going to get closer to having not as much fuel left. Then, I'd have all this energy, this fuel to drive me to my destination. And then I wouldn't be pouring from an empty cup and feeling like absolute shit. So it's the same aspect in like, you need to put your needs first. I really have the unpopular opinion that your needs come first over everyone else's. I don't care if you're married, if you're in a relationship, if you have kids, like if you have pets, like your needs come first. And you can disagree with me because, I have had some women and moms disagree with me on this, but I also see them struggling and putting themselves last because they think that they need to put their kids and their partner and everything else first and put themselves on the sidelines, but then they're overwhelmed, they're burnt out, they're really struggling and, they're not themselves anymore because they're putting themselves last. They don't even care enough about themselves to take time for themselves and be like, hey, we're getting a babysitter or, I'm getting a nanny to help with the kids or, I'm going back to work and the kids are going to daycare. Like whatever it is, like putting your needs first and whatever that looks like is what you need to do. Like if you're not filling your own cup, then you cannot show up for your kids, your spouse, your partner, your pets, your career, like period. End of story. You cannot show up for anyone if you're not filling your own cup. So really look at yourself in your life and ask yourself, do I put myself first in any aspect? Do I take time for myself? And do I put myself first? Because I put my partners first in so many of my codependent, toxic, and or abusive relationships, and I wasn't myself. I didn't know who that was. That was not Sam. That was something else. And I can't even tell you what that was because I had completely lost myself in putting everyone else's needs first, putting mine on the back burner. And even when I was in school and putting my career and schooling above, my own needs and making sure I had enough sleep and I was getting enough exercise, making sure I was getting enough nutrients, I wasn't even doing that in my last semester of university. So, I've been there when I've been burnt out in several different situations in school, in my career, in relationships. I know what it's like to put everyone else first, put yourself on the back burner, and then to struggle for a long time and lose yourself by trying to fix everyone else and to put everyone else's needs and wants, desires before your own. If you haven't lost yourself already, kudos to you, but you will. And I don't want that for you. I don't want any woman to lose the amazing goddess that is them to put everyone else's needs before their own. You were not made to come onto this earth as the beautiful creature that you are to fix everyone else. Even as a coach, I don't fix everyone else. I put myself first. I fix myself first. first. And when I did that, you know what happened? I created better relationships with my family. I manifested the love of my life after the worst abusive relationship of my entire life. When I finally put myself first and, I pretty much said, screw it to putting everyone else's needs before my own, then I manifested the love of my life. I am living proof that, you can go from rock bottom and put yourself first and see what amazing abundance and fulfillment you can get from just putting yourself first. If you don't know how to do this or what that even looks like to you, then I encourage you to go get my free guide. It's 5 steps to start living authentically that will help aid you in your journey by learning how to put yourself first and what living authentically to you actually looks like. So this is a free 5-step guide. You can get this on my website. All of the details will be in the show notes for you to go and get this. These are the steps that I went through in order to find out who I really was. I had to go through this process on figuring out who the fuck Sam was. I was always like, yeah, I'm Sam, I am. Green eggs and ham. And that was part of my identity. And I had to redo this journey on figuring out who I am. So these 5 steps is going to help you figure out what the authentic version of yourself looks like, how to do that. And it's a very quick 5-step guide that you can read through. But this is so transformational because I've used this myself to become the authentic Sam that I am today. It's really to invest in your happiness. This is 100% free. You can learn how to be your authentic self and learn how to put yourself first. So this is a really amazing guide that I encourage you to go get. Like I said again, it is for free. You can get it on my website and start living authentically to yourself, putting yourself first, and actually start living a life that you love without overwhelm, without burnout, and really enjoy the life that you are living, that you were gifted with. Because babe, you were made for a wonderful purpose. And if you weren't made for that purpose, you would not be on this earth. So you were made to be on earth for a reason, and you deserve to live authentic to yourself. You deserve to let all of the magic and light come out and shine brightly, because I've been there when I would hide parts of myself and thinking that, oh, I'm too much and people aren't going to like that. The moment that I started to live as my authentic self, show up as her, and be that in front of other people, I actually called in my true circle of humans that love me for everything that I am. And, I showed that to Logan when we reconnected and we were friends, even until we started dating. Like, I wasn't ever hiding any parts of myself. I was the full, loud Sam that I am, and my very obnoxious laugh that is crazy sometimes. But he loved me for everything that I was, and the fact that I showed him who the authentic Sam was. I wasn't hiding anything. And, he loves me for everything I am. And the same for him. He showed me who the authentic version of him is. And I love him 100% of who he is. I love him so much. And that's the whole thing, is you need to show the world who the authentic person that you are so that you can call in the right people into your life, whether that's a partner or whether that's just a friends support group, whatever it is. Even if your own family doesn't accept you for 100% of who you are, who fucking cares? I have personally disowned certain parts of my blood related family, because, they were toxic, and I don't feel guilty over that whatsoever. And, they probably wouldn't like the person that I am now, because even when I was still hiding parts of myself, they didn't like me completely. So, being this blown out version of my authentic self, they probably wouldn't like me. And that's okay, because, I don't need them in my life. I don't need anything from that person. So the only thing that I need is to feel happy within myself. And that starts with you being your authentic self. So go grab this guide. The link is in the show notes for you to get that for free. And I will see you next time. Hey love, what was your golden nugget from today's episode? Let me know by tagging the Arouse Podcast on Facebook or Twitter. And don't forget to grab my latest freebie. Head to the show notes and get the link. If there's a topic you'd love for me to cover in my next episode, let me know by emailing samanthapopcoaching@gmail.com. I'll see you next time.